The Crimson Tunic, a Gorean short story.
Taken from my bed in the city of light, dropped on a world where the sun burns bright. 1 year I've wandered, 1 year I bled. The crimson tunic I took from the dead. The road to war is long and cold, a story no one else will hold. I wear the crimson, I carry the steel. The core is hunting, the wounds won't heal. I fought in the grass where the shadows fell. I sent him back to a steel-made hell. Now the blood on my hands is my own, and I walk this road alone. The shadow followed for 3 long days, through dust and heat, through sun and haze. Then he stood before me 8 feet tall, his claws like knives, his back like a wall. He smiled and said, "You have something I need." I drew my sword and began to bleed. I wear the crimson, I carry the steel. The core is hunting, the wounds won't heal. I fought in the grass where the shadows fell. I sent him back to his steel-made hell. Now the blood on my hands is my own, and I walk this road alone. The crimson tunic is mine to wear. I earned the scar, I paid the fare. Our waits ahead, the gates are wide, but the thing inside me cannot hide. Crimson tunic, crimson road, I carry the weight of the world I own. I wear the crimson, I carry the steel. The core is hunting, the wounds won't heal. I fought in the grass where the shadows fell. I sent him back to his steel-made hell. Now the blood on my hands is my own, and I walk this road alone.
Part 1. The Road to R. The road to R was long and empty. It stretched before him like a scar across the plains, pale and dusty, vanishing into the haze where the sun met the earth. There were no travelers, no merchants, no patrols from the city. Just him, his shadow, and the weight of the sword at his hip. He had been on Gore for 1 year. 1 year since the priest kings took him from his bed in a city called Chicago, from a life of school and screens and the soft hum of a world that did not know pain. 1 year since he learned that steel was heavier than it looked, that blood was warmer than he expected, that men died quickly and women sometimes faster. He remembered the night they came, the silver ship descending through the clouds, silent as a ghost, the golden light that filled his room, warm and strange, the hands that lifted him, gentle but firm, carrying him through a doorway that should not have been there. He had screamed. He had fought. He had bitten one of the moles, the pale, hairless servants of the priest kings, and tasted something like metal and salt. It did not matter. They were stronger. They were patient. They had done this 1,000 times before. When he woke, he was on Gore. The air was different here, thicker, warmer, scented with dust and strange flowers. The sky was a deeper blue, the sun a little brighter, the moons, 3 of them, strange and beautiful. He had been alone then, too. He wore the crimson tunic of a warrior now. Not because he had earned it, because he had taken it from a dead man in a tavern brawl and no one had asked where it came from. The tunic was too large for him, the sleeves rolled up, the hem dragging in the dust. The short sword at his hip was borrowed, its edge chipped, its grip worn smooth by hands he would never know. He was 19 years old, he was alone, and he was being hunted. Part 2, The Shad. He had felt the eyes on him for 3 days. At first he thought it was paranoia. The road to R was dangerous, everyone knew that. Bandits, outlaws, beasts. He had seen the bones of travelers beside the road, picked clean by scavengers. He had seen the ruins of a caravan, its wagons burned, its goods scattered, its people gone. But this was different. This was a presence, a weight, a shadow that moved when he moved and stopped when he stopped. He had seen it once at dusk when the sun was low and the shadows were long. A shape on the horizon, too large for a man, too dark for a beast. It stood on 2 legs, its shoulders broad, its head crowned with something that might have been fur or might have been a helmet. He had run then. He was not ashamed of that. He was 19 years old, alone, and the thing behind him was death. He ran until his lungs burned and his legs gave out. He collapsed beneath a tree, gasping, shaking, his hand on his sword. The shadow was gone, but he knew it was not far. He did not sleep that night. He sat with his back against the trunk, his sword in his lap, his eyes on the darkness. The wind whispered through the grass. The stars wheeled overhead. The moons rose and set, and somewhere in the dark the shadow watched. Part 3, The KUR. The fight came on the 4th day. He had stopped at a stream to drink, his hands shaking, his throat dry. The water was cold and clear, and he cupped it to his lips, tasting iron and earth. When he looked up, the thing was there. It was a cur. He had heard of them in the taverns and the camps, whispered stories of creatures from the steel worlds, monsters in the shape of men. The stories said they were 8 feet tall, covered in fur, with claws that could tear through steel. They said they ate human flesh, drank human blood, and laughed while they did it. He had thought they were legends, stories to frighten children, tales told by drunkards in the dark. He had been wrong. The cur was massive, 8 feet tall, its body covered in coarse black fur, its hands tipped with claws that gleamed like knives. It wore clothes, thick leather, but not of a primitive cut, a kind of leather kilt that fell to its knees, dark and stained. Over it, a leather harness, strapped across its chest and shoulders, fitted with rings and buckles whose purpose he could not guess. Its face was not even near something he had seen before. The features were too sharp, the eyes too bright, the teeth too many. When it opened its mouth, grinning, tasting the air, he saw rows of teeth like an earth shark, razor-sharp, layered one behind another. They were not for eating, they were for tearing. It smiled. "Little warrior," it said. Its voice was deep, smooth, amused. "You have something I want." He did not ask what. He drew his sword. The cur laughed. The sound echoed across the plain, deep and rumbling like thunder in the distance. "You are brave," it said, "or stupid. I have not decided which." He did not answer. He shifted his weight, raised his blade, waited. The cur stepped closer. Its claws scraped against the stones, leaving grooves in the rock. Its eyes, yellow and slit-pupiled, studied him with something like curiosity. "You are far from the cities," it said, "far from the warriors who might protect you. Did you think you could hide from me?" "I wasn't hiding." "No, you were running. There is a difference." The cur stopped a few feet away, its arms folded across its chest. Up close, it was even larger than he had imagined. Its shoulders were as broad as a door, its hands as large as his head. The claws at its fingertips were black, curved, sharp. "I have been following you for 3 days," the cur said. "I could have killed you at any time, in your sleep, by the stream, while you were running." "Then why didn't you?" The cur tilted its head. "Because I wanted to see what you would do." "And what did I do?" You ran, you hid, you did not give up. The cur's smile widened. Interesting. Part 4. The Fight. The cur attacked without warning. One moment it was standing still, its arms folded, its head tilted. The next it was moving faster than anything that size should be able to move. Its claws raked the air where he had been standing a heartbeat before. He dove to the side, rolled, came up with his sword raised. The cur turned, its eyes bright, its lips pulled back from its teeth. Fast, it said. Good. It came again. He parried, his blade ringing against its claws, sparks flying. The impact jarred his arm, numbed his fingers, sent shockwaves through his shoulder. He was strong. He had trained for months, lifting stones, swinging his sword, building the muscles he would need to survive. But the cur was stronger, much stronger. Its claws raked his arm, tearing through the crimson tunic, drawing blood. He hissed, stumbled, barely managed to block the next strike. Faster, the cur said. Faster. He tried. He gave everything he had, every ounce of strength, every scrap of skill. He thrust, slashed, parried. His blade found the cur's shoulder, drawing a line of black oil that spattered the grass. The cur roared not in pain but in surprise and backhanded him across the face. He fell. The world spun. He tasted blood. Little warrior, it said. Its voice was deep, smooth, amused. You have something I want. He did not ask what. He drew his sword. The fight was not a fight. It was a slaughter. He was fast, or he thought he was. He had trained for months, learned to parry, to thrust, to move. But the cur was faster. Its claws raked his arm, his shoulder, his side. Blood soaked his crimson tunic, turning it dark, turning it black. He struck back. His sword bit into the cur's arm, drawing a line of black oil that spattered the grass. The cur roared not in pain but in surprise and backhanded him across the face. He fell. The world spun. He tasted blood. Little warrior, the cur said, crouching beside him, you are brave, but bravery is not enough. It reached for him. Part 5. The Darkness. He did not remember what happened next. There was a sound, a crack, a snap, a wet tearing noise. There was pain, bright and hot, and then darkness. When he opened his eyes, the cur was on the ground. Its chest was open, its ribs splintered, its heart, if it had a heart, crushed. He did not know how. He did not remember, but this is what happened. In his desperation, blind with pain and fear, he had swung his sword not at the cur but at the ground. A branch, a stone. Something skidded beneath the cur's heavy foot. The great beast lurched, its arms flailing, its balance gone. It tried to catch itself, but it was too heavy, too off balance, too slow. It fell. It fell onto the young warrior's raised blade. The sword, not sharp enough to pierce the cur's thick hide on its own, found a gap between the ribs, a weakness the cur itself did not know it had. The weight of its own body drove the metal deep. The cur died not by the young warrior's strength, but by gravity, by chance, by the cruel mathematics of mass and momentum. The young warrior did not win. He survived. He crawled away from the body, his hands slipping in the black oil that pooled beneath it. His tunic was soaked, his arm hanging limp at his side, his sword lost somewhere in the grass. He did not know he had killed it. He only knew he was still alive. He crawled until he could not crawl anymore. Then he lay still, looking up at the sky, watching the clouds drift past. He thought of Chicago, of his mother's voice, his father's laugh, the small room where he had slept. He thought of the priest kings, of the silver ship, of the moment he realized he would never go home. He thought of the cur, of its smile, of its words. You have something I want. He did not know what it wanted. He did not care. He closed his eyes. Part 6. The Cart. He woke in a cart. The wood was rough beneath him, the wheels creaking, the air thick with the smell of hay and horses. He tried to move, but his body would not obey. His arm was bound, his side wrapped in bandages, his tunic replaced with something clean and soft. Easy, boy." The voice was old, rough, kind. He turned his head, saw a man with gray hair and a weathered face sitting on the driver's bench, a whip in his hand. "Where?" His voice was a croak. "The man said. "You're almost there." "The cur." The man was silent for a moment, then he shook his head. "I don't know what you fought, boy, but I found you in the grass, half dead, covered in blood. There was a body nearby. Big. Wrong. I buried it." He did not ask what it was. He did not want to know. "The tunic," the young man said. "The crimson tunic." The man glanced back at him. "What about it?" "It was mine." The man nodded slowly. "It's still yours. I washed it. The blood came out." He closed his eyes. The cart creaked. The wheels turned. He was alive. He did not know how. He did not know why. But he was alive. Part 7. The Gates of Ar. The gates of Ar rose before him, white and tall, their walls gleaming in the afternoon sun. The cart passed through the crowd, the merchants, the slaves, the warriors in their scarlet tunics. No one looked at him. No one knew what he had done. He sat up slowly, his body aching, his arm throbbing. The old man helped him down, steadied him with a hand on his shoulder. "There," the man said. "You're safe now." He looked at the old man. "Thank you." The man shrugged. "I didn't do anything. You saved yourself." He did not understand. He did not ask. He walked into the city, his crimson tunic clean, his short sword missing, his body scarred and broken. He was 19 years old. He was alone, and he was alive. He did not know what the cur had wanted. He did not know how he had killed it, but he knew one thing. He was not the boy who had left Earth. He was something else now, something harder, something darker. Something that had looked into the eyes of death and not looked away. He walked through the streets of Ar, and the crowd parted around him, and no one knew. Part 8. The Tavern. He found a tavern near the central square, a low building with a faded sign and a door that sagged on its hinges. The air inside was thick with smoke and the smell of roasting meat. Men in scarlet tunics sat at the tables, drinking, laughing, gambling. No one looked up when he entered. He found a corner table, sat down, and ordered food. The serving girl was young, pretty, with dark hair and tired eyes. She looked at his bandaged arm, his pale face, his crimson tunic. "New in the city?" she asked. "Yes." "Where are you from?" He hesitated. "Far away." She nodded as if that explained everything. She brought him bread, cheese, a bowl of soup. He ate slowly, his hands trembling, his stomach rebelling. He had not eaten in days. The food was good, warm, filling. When he was finished, he sat back and looked around the room. The men at the tables were warriors. He could tell by their tunics, their swords, their scars. They talked of battles, of women, of the price of steel. They did not look at him. He was glad. Part 9. The Dream. That night he dreamed of the cur. He was back on the plain, his sword in his hand, his body broken. The cur stood before him, its chest open, its ribs splintered, its heart crushed. But it was not dead. Its eyes were open, yellow and slit-pupiled, and they were watching him. "Little warrior," it said, "you have something I want." "What?" he asked. "What do I have?" "You do not know," the cur said. "That is what makes it interesting." He woke with a start. The room was dark, the tavern silent. His heart was pounding, his hands were shaking, his bandages were soaked with sweat. He sat up, swung his legs over the side of the bed, and stared at the wall. He did not know what the cur had wanted. He did not know how he had killed it, but he knew one thing. The cur was not the only one hunting him. Part 10. The Journey continues. He stayed in Ar for a week, resting, healing, gathering his strength. He found a weaponsmith who sold him a new sword, a short blade with a leather grip and a steel edge. He found an armorer who repaired his tunic, stitching the tears, reinforcing the seams. He found a healer who looked at his wounds, shook her head, and gave him herbs for the pain. On the 8th day he left. The road to Tyria was long and dangerous, but he did not care. He had faced a cur and survived. He had looked into the eyes of death and not looked away. He was 19 years old. He was alone, and he was still alive. He did not know what the future held. He did not know if he would ever find his way home. But he knew one thing. He was a warrior now, not because of his tunic, not because of his sword, because of what he had done. The crimson tunic was his. He had earned it.